Welcome to Kim and Angela Talk. Kim is a biodynamic craniosacral therapist, PSYCH-K facilitator, curious human, forever student, and a loving mum. Angela is a Reiki master, PSYCH-K facilitator, metaphysical nerd, compulsive learner, and childless cat lady. Come along for the ride as they explore the mysteries of the universe and their own lives, all while enjoying a good laugh together.
Hi, I'm Angela.
And I'm Kim.
And together we're Kim and Angela Talk. And today we are going to be reviewing an oracle deck, The Council of Horses by Sandra Wallen and Kim McElroy. Sandra's site is caronsway.com and Kim's site is spiritofhorse.com. And we just decided to do oracle deck review because a lot of times when you go to the store, maybe a store might have a demos or decks that are open that you can look at, and you can look at the cards and look at the artwork and look at the message, see if they resonate. But a lot of times they don't. And then sometimes if you are buying stuff online, who knows what you're going to get. You might be all excited about a deck and then you get the deck and you're like, oh, well, this artwork doesn't resonate. These messages don't resonate. And then you're disappointed and you just dropped like 20, 30 bucks, maybe more. Some of them are pretty expensive on an oracle deck that you decide that you don't really want. So let's review an oracle deck. And we decided to do Council of Horses first because, as we said, Sandra is our beloved PSYCH-K teacher. And it's a gorgeous deck. And it's one that we both highly recommend to anyone, especially if you love horses, but even if you're not necessarily a horse person, the artwork is beautiful. If you get this deck, you'll probably become a horse person. Mm-hmm. I will actually say that I was afraid of horses before working with Sandra in this deck, and then working with Sandra in her PSYCH-K workshops and being around her horses really made me get over that fear.
Nice.
So Kim and I both did a one-card pull. And do you want to go first, or should I go first, Kim?
Well, I can go first if you want. I mean,
excellent.
You have the audience cards, maybe you should go first with your first one and then break it up.
Well, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about the book first, actually.
Oh, good idea.
Because then then we'll lead into the thing.
Sure.
Okay, so of course mine has got a little inscription from Sandra, which was really nice because I got this at her, brought it to one of her talks. So the nice thing about this deck is, she gives you a lot of information. She gives you background about, how she came up with this deck and why horses. In fact, there's a thing there. Why horses? Mm-hmm. And also, she gives you instructions about how to use the deck. I mean, you can use any deck intuitively, however you're drawn to it, but she's got guidance for how to use the deck. And then she also has a lot of different readings. And one of the things I really like about this, too, is like the key questions to ask the council. So she kind of gives you a little bit of guidance. It's like if you're just kind of, not really sure what to ask for or how to focus a question. Because you really, when you're asking oracle decks, asking questions for oracle decks or tarot, you want to be focused in your questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you want to be very particular about where if it's too general, it's more difficult. But yeah, good to be specific. I'm focused.
Yeah, it's kind of like ordering off the menu. You want to know, I want those French fries. Or like, I don't know. Maybe French fries, maybe tater tots. Not sure.
Right.
Yeah, you want to be specific about what you are ordering off the menu. She gives you a little bit of guidance about shuffling and drawing the cards in here. And she also, one of the things I do really like about this deck too, is she actually has sample readings. So like readings from real people who had real life questions that were important to them, and the cards that they drew and the interpretations that were received. So it's kind of like a good way to kind of get a feel for the cards. And then, like I said, too, she's got lots of different spreads in here. Simple ones for one card readings, which is what we're going to do today just for time's sake, but also 3 and 4 card readings. The Ambassador is a 4-card reading for a relationship spread. It's not necessarily a romantic relationship, or like any relationship, because we're in relationship with all sorts of things and people. And let me see. And also about doing readings for other people.
Yeah, I also liked the one that she has, the sacred circle spread. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I haven't actually done it yet, but I think that's kind of fun that you can even put a symbol of something in the midst, and it's kind of like the herd is around you in a sacred circle. I just love the visuals of that. It's just, anyway, so it's a very special
Yeah.
deck, very special way of using it, and yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and I've done a couple of different readings out of here, and I think I really like the relationship spread because it kind of gives you an idea of like, let's see, specifically when the relationship spread. Let me grab it. The first card is, what role does so and so play, or a person or thing play in your life? What role do you play in blank's life? So that would be a person. Who are you together, and what are you meant to learn from your relationship with this other person? Or, and again, you can, as we said, you can be in a relationship with anything. So maybe it's, and maybe it's your job, your relationship with your job. So I've done that, and I have to say that when I did it, it was super on point and very, very helpful.
Awesome.
So we each did a one card spread today. I did one for myself. Kim did one for herself, and then we also did one for the audience. Okay, so for myself, I did the one card spread of the Cray course. It's the playful reminder card. The Cray course holds a kind of mischief and magic. It comes whenever it wants and does whatever it can to move us out of our ruts. This reading is a short and sweet kick in the pants from the Cray course. Where in your life do you need to upset the apple cart to get things moving? Stop taking yourself too seriously and start having more fun. For example, even if you pick a card with a more serious tone, like Nightmare, the Cray course is telling you that it is time to befriend something you've been afraid of, and so you can rediscover the joy in your life. So I pulled this card, and I pulled Tank. And Tank was actually one of Sandra's horses. It's a real life horse, and it's a really beautiful card here. So I don't want too much glare on it right there. And you'll see underneath it says, under Tank, it says worth waiting for. So of course, since I was thinking this is the playful reminder, it's like, oh yeah, I'm totally worth waiting for. I don't know who's waiting for me, but there you go. And so you'll also see, I have a little posted here to keep my space. Okay, so you also see here that there's different parts of the in the book. There's these 3 little bits that are just kind of like summarizes the point of the book. There's the story of the horse, and then there's the counsel from Tank, and then there's contemplations, and then there's the invitation at the bottom right there. So that's how the messages are laid out. And the story of Tank is really beautiful. He talks about waiting, waiting, being tied to a tree, waiting at the hitching post to carry the people, waiting, being tied to a trailer, nibbling things until people came to use him for, being a beast of burden. Waiting, always at someone else's beck and call. And what I really love is how then he talks about waiting, and finally Sandra comes. Of course, he doesn't say her name, but he says then Sandra comes, and he's finally the person he's really been waiting for, to take him home and to treat him with kindness and to treat him, give him the due respect and the home and the life that he really wants. She finally came. And then also she was waiting for him. She tells me that there's no more things to carry, that she's been waiting for him, and that good things come to those who wait, and that he is the very best of good things, which is a very, very sweet story. And the counsel from Tank, and I'll just go ahead and read this. Horses are often tied to something, confined by something, held back, held down, broken, bridled, and saddled. Some of my brothers and sisters pull against the ties and fight against the bindings, but that is not my way. I can be the rock that the river flows around, or the river that flows around the rock. These choices have served me well. I've learned to chop wood and carry water, a term your kind uses to emphasize the need for commitment to, or committing to, and thriving during the pursuit of something. Often that something is enlightenment. But what if I told you that enlightenment, grace, serenity, and joy need not be pursued, because they do not reside outside of you, hidden away in some far-off land. They are your birthright, intrinsically yours, waiting to be acknowledged, awakened, aroused. You have the power to attract to you that which you are seeking, and thus the pursuit of any enlightened quality, such as happiness, peace, or freedom, is an inside job. I can walk with you or carry you toward any destination, but first let us stand together. As we do, I touch my nose to your heart to remind you that this is the most important place for you to go and be. So what are you waiting for? Isn't that lovely?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very Tao, this card. It's like you're talking about going with the flow of life, and that's kind of like how Tank's story is about, like kind of going with the flow. Yes, he's had to wait, and was at the beck and call of other forces, other people. And then eventually what he really wanted came to him. And the person that he needed to be with, she waited, and then he came to her. And for me, it's really funny because it's very resonant with also the Ten of Wands, which is a card that I get a lot, which is about carrying burdens that are not yours, and you're carrying them is kind of like in an awkward way. And then the first in the contemplation bullets, the first one is, who or what are you carrying that you need to set down that does not belong to you or is not yours to carry, which is so much like the Ten of Wands. So like this card very much resonated with me. What are you currently tied to that you need to release yourself from? What destination does your heart seek? When do you need to be the water, and when do you need to be the rock? And that's like where I'm like, yeah, that's so Tao. Because what do we do? Is like Tao is definitely about going with the flow of life, and that image is so much of that. How can you get started being instead of doing? Where do you most need to be? Be as in be, right? And then there's the invitation here, and that says, instead of resisting or even resenting the repetitive daily routines and chores laid before you, choose gratitude for the small things that enable you to do them. Notice how they change and you change. Notice how they and you change. So, and that's also really lovely. You think about daily life, the chopping wood, carrying water, we do all this work, but we still have our daily lives, we still have to do the laundry, we still have to do dishes, cook, clean our house, go to work, all this other stuff. And, but I like the idea of just kind of switching that idea of of resentment and being like, oh, I have to do this stuff and whatever. Be grateful that you can do those things. Definitely
that
be
you have
grateful
running water for your washing machine. That you have a washing machine.
that you have the ability to do these things. This privilege. So for me, it was like when I got this, I was like, this is totally a kick in the pants because I've been doing a lot of work lately and looking at life and looking at things that I've been carrying forward that really need to be let go. And I'm definitely in that process of letting go. But sometimes it's like, maybe you need to relax a little and just go into the zone of life. Because another message that I get, have been getting frequently is, it's okay. Things are happening. You just got to wait. You just got to go with life. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know you can't know what's coming in your future anyway. Life happens. So always needing to know, always having that pressure on yourself to know or to do the next thing I mean, that's just undue stress. And again, it's one of those burdens that you put on yourself that you don't really need to carry. So yeah, definitely a playful kick in the pants for
Right.
Angela.
It was perfect.
Yes, exactly. So what was your card, Kim?
Well, my card was on, well, I'm not going to say a totally different tangent, but this is the one that I got, which I absolutely love the visuals of, the lightning bolt, and woo, pretty intense. So my card says at the bottom, so it's El Barak, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but that's my best pronunciation. And underneath it, it says expect miracles. So I totally love that, resonate with that, and trying to remember that all the time. So under all my lovely things, I'll just read out the little kind of highlighted ones at the beginning, which is jolt of awareness, holding the sacred, transcend perceived limitations. That's a big one for me, as far as all the work that we do. And I feel like I'm expanding beyond and beyond and beyond, and even beyond the methodologies. It feels like it's even beyond that. I haven't gotten there yet, but it just, yeah. So that just totally hits well. Now, the message for humankind: believe in the reality of what you envision or experience, regardless of what the external world might negate. All the discoveries that they're making worldwide now to do with things underneath the pyramids and all that kind of stuff, and it's changing timelines for how old things are, and yeah, so it's kind of like all these things are just opening up, I find, universally speaking, I guess maybe in our consciousness. And it's just, it's kind of like we have truths that have always been truths since we've been around, and now they're getting shaken to their core going, maybe not. So anyway, so I love that. Message for horsekind: you are capable of miraculous deeds that can change the minds and hearts of humankind. So I love that too. I think the animal kingdom has a lot to teach us about our own humanity, and resonate with that as well. They're very smart, very wise. And then the other part that stuck out in the message for me was it can be challenging to hold on to the truth of what you see, feel, and know, but it is essential to acknowledge the profound nature of the miraculous, even when the world questions its validity. So, things happen we can't explain, and we know in our work as well, messages come up, things happen, and you go, whoa, but, it is our experience of what's going on. And so here we are on our lovely little podcast sharing them also. So we're trying. And then the invitation is to discover the extraordinary in the ordinary. And I think that's a key thing for everybody to think about. Just, I think about that all the time. We're talking about just, you're saying like a washing machine, like my brain still can't, figure out how so many things people came up with and invented, and how they make them, and how they make things that make things. And so it's just, to me, there are miracles in everyday things that we just take for granted for how they work. And it's like, how did anybody even make a toaster? Like, think about all the little pieces and the metal that needs, I don't know if you ever watched that show, It's How It's Made.
Oh yeah,
and it's
totally.
like kind of, and you just, I don't know, my jaw's always wide open going, oh my gosh. Like, I didn't even think of how that was made. It's just always, it's made, and then you have it and you use it, but you don't think, well, wait a minute, like, how did that even come to be, right? And so to me, there's miracles all around as far as where these divine thoughts and lovely, intelligent people of the world have put together. So yeah, look for miracles everywhere in your life. And I think that's
well, yeah, we've also talked about just the miracle of like walking around and appreciating flowers, dandelions, lilacs, all this stuff. There's so many miracles around us every day.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know if I told you, just on a little miracle thing, that we have a little hummingbird nest out the front in our tree, and it's been made on a really low branch, and so you can see it from the window quite clearly. And I saw I saw the eggs from kind of a top window looking down into the nest. And now we've got, I want to say 2 babies, because I saw her land on the nest, and it looked like she was doing, I thought even 3, but my son told me there's no way they could have 3. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, she has had the babies, and so that's my little miracle at the window, because they're so tiny. Oh my gosh, they're tiny. So it's amazing to see her caretaking these little ones, and when it's windy out and stuff, and she's hovering over them. So yeah, so there are little beautiful miracles all around. We just have to look out for them. So yeah,
exactly.
So I love the message.
That's beautiful.
I love the message. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
And you have our little audience message.
I do. So the message we pulled for the audience is Dharma. And it says the end of suffering. And at first when I read this, I was like, oh, but it's true. Especially with, it's really appropriate that this is the message for the audience, because there's just so much going on in the world right now, and again, with the Tao, this too shall pass, right? Yes, things are very difficult right now, but this too shall pass. And the little bullets are post-traumatic stress. Again, especially with everything going on in the world right now. Trusting others and happily ever now, because all time is now, right? And the message for humanity is aspire to help yourselves without harming others, which of course is a message that more people need to take to heart. And the message for horsekind is liberation lies in accepting love, which is just really beautiful, and is a message for people as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and just read the story of this, since it's for our audience. Like many horses, I was bred for a single purpose, to serve those who created me. I was born into captivity, surrounded by 2-legged beings who spoke a different language and whose actions I couldn't interpret. In my first months of life, there were times of well-being and peace. My dam was the primary source of that peace. In that strange world, that was my sole source of comfort. Too soon, my mother was taken away. I no longer had anyone who could understand me. When I was 2 years old, I was taken to a strange, loud, chaotic place where others captives like me were held. Sometimes there were thousands of 2-legged beings there, and occasionally they were all yelling all at once. I was required to harness all my courage to do things that terrified me. It seemed like I was running in circles, but I could never get to the finish line. Then one day, something unexpected happened. A 2-legged being who was in the shape of my captors, but one who was filled with compassion and the light of love, came suddenly into my life. I recognized her instantly as a spirit whom I had known before. For the first time, I felt hope. I went to live in an earthly paradise where others like me were allowed to be themselves, but my story was just beginning. Though I began to learn the language of trust with my new family, there were times when events would happen that would overwhelm my level of peace and confidence, and I would go right back to the fearful place. In time, through my receiving the abiding love that was offered to me, I learned that courage was not always about running from what I was afraid of or fighting against it. Courage was standing still and acknowledging that what I feared in the present was an invisible foe from my past. And I love that that line, that sentiment. So I'm going to say it again. Courage was standing still and acknowledging that what I feared in the present was an invisible foe from my past. Because, I mean, how many of us experience that, right? So the section of the counsel from Dharma is, running circles in your mind creates a whirlwind of strife. You are caught in the endless cycle of the wheel of life. Sometimes even when you are in the most peaceful place on earth, current events can still trigger your emotions from the past. If this has occurred, now is the time to seek the support of others. You don't have to do this on your own. Healing is active, not passive. Again, Healing is active, not passive. So very important message there. And because it is so true, you have to show up, right?
Yeah.
You are more than what you've been through. Again, very so true. When the past rears up to haunt you, curtail your habitual reaction by remaining attentive to what is happening. Trust the present moment and revise your vision of the way things are, regardless of how they appear. What is so is not always how we would wish it to be, but you can choose to respond and act in ways that prevent chaos and allow harmony within yourself and others. Embracing your Dharma creates a ripple effect of love that lasts forever. Transformation is only possible if you shed the cocoon of the worn and battered armor of your past perception. Peace will find you when you let your guard down. It will sneak in between the cracks and through the chinks when you least expect it. As you rest in the truth of your inherent nature, that sighs your heart, recognizing what was so elusive but was there all along. Which is really beautiful, because this is also definitely a message for me.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, for all.
And then there's 5 contemplations. Yeah, totally. I mean, really, that's everybody. This is like so pertinent to everyone, which is why it's, the card, again, through our special method, the one that showed up for the audience.
Yeah.
Can't make this shit up. Contemplations. Is there an area of your life or part of you that is suffering? What is one action you can take to begin to heal, resolve, amend? Are there pains from the past that will still define or affect you? What, who, when triggers you? How can you reperceive the triggers so you can move forward vitally and safely? What are you running from that you need to stand, face, and learn from? Is there anyone you trust in your life who you can rely on to have your back? Can you take note of moments of peace in your day and intentionally create more of them? And the invitation is, find a body of water in which to reflect, release, and find peace. And that's one of the things I like about this deck too, is a lot of these, she's got kind of like built-in goal statements or affirmations in these messages, so that you can find them. And like in the contemplation, they're right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And my earbuds are falling out.
Yeah, it makes it easy to work with when you're trying, like if you're doing, let's say, PSYCH-K messaging around a particular problem or issue or situation or a condition that you have, and then, using the deck. And then, it lends itself beautifully to coming up and helping you to make the goal statements as a result of the message. So, it's very, very useful, very helpful, and very appreciated.
Yeah, totally. And even if you don't have PSYCH-K, you can make affirmations. Like, I personally never really was successful with the whole affirmation thing. I could never stick to that. Sort of like, repeating or writing down these affirmations. It just seemed like maybe I do it like for 1 or 2 days, but that's it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons why PSYCH-K is so awesome, because like you do balance with a goal statement, it's done.
You're good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to
think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to.
And you're
and that's
making
the
sure
thing.
it's like getting in that subconscious, right? Which is the key thing.
Right,
If you
totally.
have an affirmation, you're saying no, but is it really like
It's-
really okay. Really going in?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like in your conscious mind. It's not, is it really shifting the subconscious belief patterns? I don't know about that. I guess that's kind of ended up being a plug for PSYCH-K, because it's awesome.
Sorry.
And PSYCH-K, Sandra is a PSYCH-K teacher, our PSYCH-K teacher. So, of course, that's one of the cool things about this deck, is that I think she had that in mind when she was creating these contemplations, is that they could be, easily transformed into goal statements for balancing. But really, they just speak to it, because when I went to a talk where she was talking about doing the deck, and she would go into surrogation for the horses and, download the messages. And just really beautiful the way she went through it. And I will say, the other thing is like Kim McElroy's art is so amazingly beautiful. Oh, here's a really good one. Like, look at that, the prayer mirror. And this again, I mean, in Sandra's talk, she talked about how Kim basically painted this at the same time that Sandra was having this experience with one of her horses, of their bonding together like this. The art is like just amazing. And that's one of the things for me is like, I really need to connect with the art of the decks, because some of them, I mean, they're all great on their own way, I suppose, but some of them I'm just like, if I don't really connect to the art, I don't think it really shows up for me that much, right? Oh, look at that one. The Kelpie deck.
I just feel the pictures and the artwork in this deck resonate the energy of the message. Like it's just,
Absolutely.
you can feel it. And some of them are just so touching and they just really get you in the heart.
Yeah. Here's the Nightmare. Look at that one. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. When I was a little girl, I used to draw horses all the time. Not well, probably, but I mean, I was a kid. Look at that.
They're so intuitive and so
I know.
giving. They're so gorgeous.
I know. And so, and here's like one of the earliest drawings.
Oh.
So, the thing is, and see, that's just a sample. And some of these paintings are on Kim McElroy's website as well. And again, we'll put the links down. But yeah, it's just like the art's beautiful, the messages are great. They're concise, but so poignant. Like we were talking a little bit earlier about sometimes you just read the messages and you start wanting to cry because it's just so touching, both of the horse of the story, but also how it resonates with you. Like I think every card that I pull from this, it's like I felt it connect to some part of my life, and it's always on point with something that I'm experiencing at this time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally. So yay, and thank you, Sandra and Kim.
Yes, and so you can get this deck online from bookshop.org, and you can pick a local bookstore to support through that. There's other online venues that you can figure out on your own.
And I guess we should say too, we're not gaining any
Nope.
how do you say it, any financial or anything. This was just us reviewing a deck that we love and to help people to choose decks that hopefully they'll love as well.
Yes, and Sandra did not ask us to do that. In fact, I'm kind of wondering, be like, Sandra, we just reviewed your deck for our podcast, and you'd be like, oh, don't do that. No, she's not going to say that. She's an amazing person.
She is.
So, but so she doesn't even know that we're doing this right now, because this is just something that we just decided to do actually this morning.
Yeah.
So, so highly recommend Council of Horses especially if you love horses. I've actually gifted this deck to a few people who I knew are horse people. But if you love horses, and if you're into oracle decks, this is a really great one. Even if you don't love horses, it's a great deck. And I think if you were not a huge horse person and you got this deck, you would probably become a horse person after this. Because like I said, I mean, I was totally afraid of horses. grew up in a city, right?
Well, they're large. They're very large, when you actually stand next to them. I mean, yeah. I haven't really had too many interactions with actual horses, but I did do some horseback riding with the kids when we all kind of went together. And I remember the first time getting up on the horse. Oh my goodness, I thought I was going to die. You're like so high off the ground. And I just felt like the horse knew that I wasn't comfortable. I'm 100% sure that it knew that. So it wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable.
Oh, they're so sensitive.
Oh, goodness gracious. And I think I knew that, so that made me even more nervous, which of course is not the right thing. But anyway, the second time up and on, it was less so, but still, they're amazing creatures. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So,
They're beautiful, they're majestic, they're extremely sensitive. They can absolutely tell, what you're feeling
Where you're
at the
at.
time. And they themselves are so sensitive. There's actually a really beautiful story from the Emotion Code about this horse that got distressed because he witnessed the poor little bird falling out of its nest and dying, and the horse trapped an emotion of grief because of this. So anybody who thinks that animals don't have souls and don't have emotions, they are clearly mistaken, because they do. It's like I had to release a bunch of trapped emotions from my poor kitties who were little rescues, so, and it's made a huge difference, I will have to say.
That's awesome.
And then horses are just amazing. Again, Council of Horses, Sandra Wallen and Kim McElroy. And I think it's possible to put an actual link in there. So we'll figure out that, or we'll have our media maven do that.
Yes, we will.
So that's our review of the Council of Horses Oracle deck. One more time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please like and subscribe below.
Yes, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Yes, I hope so too. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Everyone have a lovely week. Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
See you
Bye-bye.
next time. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Kim and Angela talk. Please like and subscribe below. To book sessions with Kim, visit keycranio.com. To book sessions with Angela, visit thisreikilife.com. Thank you.